WVISLP 1069, Winterville, Aden, Grifton, Southside, Greenville, North Carolina.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another wonderful broadcast of Let's Talk Real Life with Nada Manning. Tonight, all of us are in remote locations, and it is a pleasure to serve. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. Uh, as usual, WBISLP 106.9 on your FM dial. I had to throw a little bit like old school radio voice in there. And you can go back and check out the past broadcasts on Roku TV, and by all means, check the files on social media because we got some hot issues where we were like debating and arguing, and no, we weren't doing all of that. We know that ain't what we do, what we should be doing. But yeah, we got some great issues. Go back, like, share, and subscribe. When you find these, place a comment. Uh, my email is coachgarrisonoffice@gmail.com. And of course, Miss Nada can always address you at her will. Tonight, if you want to get involved in the show, 252-758-2006. 2008. Say what now?
252-756-2008.
Yeah, 2008. Yeah, I said 6 first. There you go, 75. All right.
Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, without further delay, we're going to go ahead and turn it over to the show host who's going to introduce our guest tonight. And we are going to roll with the show. Hello, Miss Nada.
Hello, everybody. Hello. Here we are once again to come up with this Let's Talk Real Life issues. We have our guest tonight. His name is Dwayne Spate, and he is coming to us as a continuation. Yes, we're going to continue with some dad issues. Unfortunately, we had to carry over in this month of July for unforeseen circumstances. However, we still wanted to give him an opportunity to talk and share with us as a dad and a granddad of all some of the issues that he wanted to bring to our attention. The topic is father or dad. Who am I? Father or dad? Who am I? That's what he's going to talk to us about. So at this time, we want to bring Mr. Dwayne, and he will have the show for a while, and we will ask questions, and he's going to answer them without issues. He said he's quite comfortable, so we're going to make him even more comfortable. So we welcome you to the show, sir.
Well, thank you very much.
All right.
Father or dad? This is what I've come up with, that a father is anybody who can donate the life force to make a child. That's father. Or a mother, but right now we're focusing on father, so let's stick there. But anybody who sticks around, puts in time, puts in love, put in care, look at the well-being of that child, that's a dad. You can be a dad without being a father. And vice versa. Now, reason why this is important to me is for a couple of different reasons. One, my dad and I did not grow up in the same household. I did not grow up in the household with my dad. But you hear me call him my dad. We put in time. I call him right now and I say, Daddy, I love you. He'll tell me, look at me and say, I love you more. That's our phrase.
Mm-hmm.
I have a son downstairs. I have a daughter and another daughter. Now, the reason why I say it like that is because my other daughter, she's actually a ex-girlfriend's daughter who I had a child with. So she is my daughter's sister. But I'm the one who taught her to walk. I'm the one who spent time with her at the beginning, showing her how to do things. Does she know who her biological father is? Yeah, she does. But when she says dad, she's not referring to him. She's referring to me.
And this is the one that you're saying, the one that's calling you dad that you just spoke of is the one that you raised from the beginning, but you're not her biological father.
Correct.
But to her, you are.
Correct.
Realistically speaking, she knows you are not, but in her heart and in her mind, in her spirit, you are the dad that she loves.
Correct. That is very correct. And another phrase, aspect of thinking of this, years ago, when my cousin was about to have a child, I pulled him to the side and I said to him, "What do you hear my daughter call me?" He said, "I hear her call you dad." I said, "Exactly. She calls me dad. Not father, dad. Be a dad to your child." He caught what I was saying, and he has been. And he's continued. Now he's a grandfather, and he's taking on that role as well.
Mm-hmm.
As a grandfather, the aspect that I'm looking into is I have 2 grandsons by my daughter that's here in town. My daughter that's up in New York, we have 5 children. And I talk to them and wish them well and encourage them to keep on doing positive things as well. But the 2 that are here, unfortunately, their fathers are not positive forces in their life. So as the granddad, I step up and do things with them to be that positive role model in their life.
So you ended up with a lot more children than you thought you had.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, not biologically, but figuratively speaking.
Figuratively, yes.
Yes.
It was funny for a while because my grandson, when he was born, probably for the first, when he started talking up until about 5, maybe 6, he called me dad. And the reason being was because he heard his mom call me dad. He heard my son, who's 2 years older than he is, call me dad. So he called me dad.
Right.
Then once we went to a family gathering and my nieces and nephews were there and my dad and stepmom was there and they were calling her grandma and him granddad, did he understand the meaning? And then he started, from that point, he's been calling me granddad. But up until then, he called me dad. It didn't bother me at all. It used to bother my wife a little bit because she thought it just sounded funny because he's my grandson. Yeah. And I was like, whatever he's comfortable calling me, I'm comfortable hearing.
How do you think that helped him, knowing that you are not his dad, but his granddad? He wants to call you dad. How do you think that affects him emotionally and mentally?
I think it gives him a sense of knowing that I'm here for him. And if there's anything that, he needs to talk about, he can talk to me. Matter of fact, we just went through something like that a little bit over a week ago, near the end of school, where he got into a little trouble at school and I had to go pick him up. And we talked about all what happened and how he needs to handle his anger issues, because he'll get angry with another student and start cussing them out.
How old is he?
He is 13 now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I try to tell him, I understand anger, and I understand sometimes you got to let it out, but there's a time and place for everything. School's not that place. Learn to handle it differently. And I gave him some different pointers on what he could do to handle it differently.
Do you think that you are more effective with him as a male model as opposed to his mother?
To some degrees, and for some things, yes. And
In
then
that
she's
case. In that
right.
case.
And then there's also some things that she's trying to do where she's trying to get him into some mentorship programs where there's going to be some other male role models that can help him and keep him focused in as well. So he's getting it from more than just me, but so we're working with him.
Do you think you're being effective with him? Or is he just at that age where he's just going to be some kind of way no matter who talks to him? Some children are like that.
True, some are, and to some degree, he's at that age. But on the same token, if we sit down and have a serious conversation, he listens.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, he's at that age. He's a teenager.
Yeah. Coach, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, I think I love his consistency and continuity in giving us some reference points to dad and father. And I think he is including, a blended family, which to me, you already know my position on that. That's real complex family unit with a lot of dynamics
It
to
can
it.
be.
And so, there are a lot of things that's outside the box that he's referring to that I want to bring into play, because some homes may not be as stable as the one he's presenting, because some dads are struggling. The mother don't want that child to call him dad, or anything as such. If anything, he might be lucky if he call him John or Mr. Tom or whatever first name basis. So when it comes to the position of a father, I want to ask him this question here: is it based on, when you say put in time? I mean, I know what you're talking about, but there are fathers that are putting in time, but it may not, and they may not feel like it's effective. But they're there, as my dad was. He didn't put any time; he was just there, and that was his time. He had the position of my father, and he was my dad. So I have, what I mean, if he's not a dad, what I'm gonna do? Go pick an alternative? No. Even though we didn't talk, he was my dad. So what do you say in that situation? A father may not be given the credit for being a dad, but he's doing the best he can.
At first, a child is going to be resentful. They all are. I was. Um, but as they get older, that resentment becomes understanding. And once understanding steps in, you know when somebody's been trying, and because of undue circumstances, life circumstances, or other barriers caused by others that have prevented them from being that purity dad figure that you need. You understand that. And the other thing would be too is as you are around kids, and even if you're doing everything wrong, you're teaching them what to do right. If they have understanding, because if they got somebody in their life that's being positive, and you as their biological father are doing everything wrong as far as showing them love, showing them understanding, showing them compassion, it will put in their heads that they don't want that to happen with their kids. They're going to do the opposite of what you're doing. So you're still teaching them. It's a really backwards way to do it, but you're still teaching them.
Indirectly.
Correct.
On that same note right there, just for conversation Oh well, you get 10 points for that question there. Max being 10. That was a good answer, sir. I like that. When a dad is absent of the family, outside of the family, he was a father and he was a dad, but now he's outside the family. What do you call him when he is either being replaced or he's just in another position? The family separate, but he was still a father and a dad to the child. How does he stake his claim if somebody else is there? I think you might have mentioned a scenario like that earlier.
Yeah, well, in that scenario, it's the person is whoever is there, they're there because of whoever that woman is. But as far as that child goes, you still be there for your child regardless. Now, you got to come to some agreement with the other two adults involved in this on who's covering what role. But for anybody to for any man to allow another man to step into that dad role of his child when he's still able and capable of being there, being their dad, even if he's on the other side of the state, other side of the nation, other side of the world, phone calls always work. So you can still be part and show love, show empathy, show compassion, all of that. But yeah, there's a big difference with somebody on the phone all the time and somebody being there. I get that. But if you're there on the phone all the time talking to them, they know they can talk to you.
Let me ask you a big question. There are a lot of men dealing with. You got a family where dad is still in the house and dad has been disenfranchised. He may not have the respect of mom. They may be going through a season, difficult relationship. Child don't understand. But thinks he understands or takes sides. Or the mother is spitting in his ear, you got a sorry daddy. He's worthless. He's this. He won't do this. He does this. How does that father maintain or regain footing, long-term or short-term, even though they may not be together much longer? They may separate and may divorce. Pray they don't. But how does a man operate in a war zone like that when he's been emasculated and being put under the authority of that child?
The best way I can say that, it's like cutting down a sequoia tree. You just got to keep chopping at it, keep working at it. Yeah, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna make you mad. It's gonna drive you insane. But you just got to keep your focus on that child and keep working at it. Eventually, understanding is going to come in. And when it does, that child's going to come to you. Because you were there doing all the crazy times. Once understanding kicks in, that child is going to know they can go to you. And that's basically all you got to do is just keep working at it. And I know this firsthand because I've seen it in some of my own family members. I have some cousins that, their mom and dad had a crazy lifestyle as far as how they handle things. And in some aspects, they were poisoned against their dad.
That happens.
I don't know if it was intentional. I don't know if it was by circumstance. I don't know if it was out of anger. I don't know what it was. All I know is from what I've seen sitting on the outside, they were poisoned against their dad. But he kept coming by. He kept bringing them stuff. He kept trying to get them to go with him different places and do things with them. So once they got grown, and started dealing with their own relationships, they remembered their dad, and they all had great relationships with him as adults.
Mm-hmm. So what you do, you hang in there no matter how tough it gets. When the tough get going, you keep going. When the tough don't go well, you still keep going.
Keep going.
Oh.
You know.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we want to talk a little bit about the differences and or what is it, distances between children. When you got that blended family that we mentioned a few minutes ago,
Yeah.
there are some differences when you got, even with two sets of children, might be the same parents, but two sets of children, they 10 years apart. What do you have to say in regards to handling those differences while you are distant from the child? How does that affect that child, like you were just saying about hanging in there and just keep coming by or keep calling or whatever? Now you are miles apart from that child. There are some differences, and you have other children, say, for example. What do you do when it comes to that? You got these two sets of children now.
One, you got to remember each child is an individual.
Mm-hmm.
And you treat them as such. You still show them love. You still talk to them. You still give them as much encouragement as you possibly can. If they got a problem, try to help them figure out different options so give them different options so they can figure out how to solve their own problem.
Don't let up, in other words.
Don't solve it for them. Right. Don't let up. You can't let up. You can't. There's too much craziness that's going out in this world. And when you let up, gang situations, that's one of the biggest things that keeping gangs going along is these young men, young ladies get lost in their home because nobody's showing that father, that dad role. Nobody's there doing that. So they're looking for somebody. And they run across a gang member who's giving them money or showing them some what they think is affection, and they lost.
Yeah, and I have to agree with you on that. The gangs out there, I think, and Coach, you probably can address some of this as well with your background. I think that a lot, and that you probably just said it right then, Dwayne, as far as what happens to those children, girls and boys, when they get out there among those gangs, they get exposed. They are now getting the attention that they didn't get at home. So it's one of those things where if I can't get it at home, then I'm gonna go out here and get me some more friends or some more buddies, and we get hung up and we get caught. And it end up being more than we thought. Once they're out there, sometimes, I won't say all the time, but many times, once they're out there, it's hard to come back. They can't bounce back to the life that they live. Well, they can, but it's a tough road.
It's a tough road.
Let's talk about the traditional issues here, because I never get tired of talking about the core issues between dad, but I got two right here that I want to hit. One is discipline. I know that's one that you probably got to get recertified in once or twice a year when it comes to disciplining your son or your daughter. It's got to be in harmony with where mom is at the time, unless you're a single dad. And then she's still going to find out what happened. Did you take the cell phone? Did you take the car? Did you, adjust the curfew time for coming in? Did you say he can't date this particular girl anymore? Or did you say he can't go out with this group of guys? Or go disciplining. What's that like? What's that like to you? And hit on the blended family with discipline? Do they use corporate punishment? now or anymore? What's going on in your head as far as somebody that feels like they're a little hot, hands are tied a little bit, or they don't discipline at all, and that child runs the house.
The way I see that is this. I can't say what other people gonna do, but in my house, that my son would tell you right now, if he's doing something he don't need to be doing, and somebody said, "I'm gonna tell your family," he would tell them quick, "Call my mama. Don't call my dad," because he knows I'm gonna straighten him out quick. His mama gonna straighten him out too, but she's a little softer about it. I'm not. And I don't know if the dynamics of why that is. That's just how it is. And I think it's also too because dads are a little bit hard on their sons because they know the pressure of what they're going to have to go through later in life. So we want to be hard on them to teach them, to get them ready. We soft on our daughters. I heard a joke one time where a guy said, this was a comedian, professional comedian. So I'm not going to use his language, but I'm going to tell you what he said. He said, when the doc handed him his son, he said, I would die for this little man. I don't even know him all that good, but I would die for this little man. He said, when the doc handed him his daughter, he said, I will kill for this one.
I know, right?
So yeah, dads are different with their daughters than they are with their sons. And there's times my wife will say, "Oh, you too hard on him. You too hard on him." And I just look at her and say, "No, I'm not." Because I know what he's going to go through as a young man stepping out there in that world. I'm trying to get him ready.
Well, we're conscious of. Go ahead.
I said, speaking as a mom, these boys need to grow up and have some backbone to face the wilds of the world out there. You can't be a gristleback and expect to survive. You don't go out there and be bullying everybody either, which is a lot of that's going on. But you have to, you have to be strong. Women too, but those boys especially, like you said. So go ahead, Coach.
Yeah. Now a second thing you mentioned the girls. How that's like playing golf, I guess, if you're a man. Usually the people will talk about how whether a woman can raise a son to be a man. In this case, I don't recall hearing any at all, searching my database right now, about people saying whether or not a man can raise a girl child to be a woman.
It can be done. I was a single parent for a few years with my daughter. Now, granted, there were some things I couldn't do, but gratefully, I had a great group of friends that will step in and help. To this day, I still can't do hair, but my daughter's hair was always done. So you use the resources that are available for you. That's the best way I can do it.
Okay, so
whether you are a male raising a daughter, you use the resources. If you're a female raising a son, you use your resources. Because there's some things you just don't get because you don't have that experience.
Right. And won't get
if you're a father raising a girl, is she gonna be a tomboy?
Not
necessarily. My daughter's not. She just is girly.
Okay. How much of you now do you allow her to date? Do you allow her to have a boyfriend?
I told her she couldn't date until she was 16.
Okay.
And for whatever reason, which still baffles my mind to this day, even after she turned 16 and she started seeing guys and talking to guys and everything, she would not bring one to the house.
You got the girl shut down. You got what do you say? You shut her down before He
He
can't
would
even come to
not bring him to the house.
what if you want to meet him? He can't even come to the cookout.
That's what I've been telling him. I'm
He
like,
gotta stay in the car.
Nope.
He gotta stay down the road.
Look,
Bro.
she was about 20. See, she was in her 20s. This was after both her sons were born.
Right.
Did she start bringing somebody by that she was talking to?
You put fear in the girl. Don't
I
be bringing
guess.
them dudes over here.
Wait,
He was not
what
bringing
you
them.
say you guess.
He would not bring them. And
Okay.
I think part of that too is one of the reasons why I think she didn't bring them, because she knew they were going to be guys that I weren't going to really mesh with. You know, I was going to see something in them that she shouldn't be dealing with.
You're going to find something wrong with every one of them.
No, it's not that I would find something wrong with every one of them, because there's been a few guys she brought up by later, two that I liked very well. And one of them is still hanging around. So we see how long that lasts. So, you know.
Oh boy. Well, you're doing great. I got if the host is gonna let me ask questions, I'm gonna keep shooting them at you. How about, is there a social construct? I'm gonna be a bit cultural here. Is there a pattern? Is there a plan for an African male man? Is there a track, or is there one of three plans that you can take to become a successful black man? Is because everybody's got some type of standard that they're comparing us to, because they have if they saying some of us are on track, some of us off track, some of us are great guys, some of us are ambitious, some of us are not ambitious. Where is the standard bearer? If it's Jesus, I got you, and there'll be a definite pass or fail on that. If it's Barack Obama, is it Kevin Hart? Is it the pastor down the street, the minister at your local church? Is it your football coach? Where is a standard that we are measuring ourselves at?
The standard, that's a good question. And for everybody, that standard is going to be different. I guess the most basic and common standard you can probably use, no matter whether you are a child of God or not, is try to be better today than you were yesterday.
But that's based on your knowledge that you get now from the community, from the tribe. That's you're getting signals from different places: social media, at school, the classroom, the teacher. So
Right.
you're
And
measuring
those people are going to keep changing your standards. If you allow them, they will continually change your standard. So that's another reason why I say make today better than yesterday.
the Generation Z, which are the young adults now in the 20s. They are practically, if you read psychological data, some sociological data, they're underperforming other generations as far as being out on their own. These aren't perceptions; these aren't opinions of mine. Unless the statistics are wrong, unless an organization can do a study and plus or minus, and there's error factors and performances. But say they're underperforming, and we're the fathers of those children. They're spending money from not just their parents, but even their grandparents. The baby boomers are financing a lot of these. I think it starts maybe 19 generation Z, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. What have we done wrong, and how can we correct a generation that is not going to mature, experience maturation, where they start to build, where they start to grow their household, generate some type of solid income from a career, they're gonna flounder around more than Generation X and the millennials
Yeah.
actually still do. What can we do?
Ironically enough, what you're saying reminds me of another comedian. I watch a lot of jokes. This one comedian was talking about what his father did, what his grandfather did, and so on. He was saying his great grandfather walked because he couldn't afford a car.
Mm-hmm.
His grandfather got him a car, a nice car. His father drove a Mercedes, even a nicer car. He is driving another Mercedes. His son would probably be walking. Basically, what he was trying to say was, as each generation makes it easier and open up doorways and pathways for the next generation, that generation at some point gets reluctant to walk through those doors and take advantages of those. So they start the whole cycle over again and have to build it back up. But somewhere along the line, third, fourth generation, somebody is going to fall all the way back down to ground zero and have to start it all over again.
So there's cycles. Some of that might be related to curses in the family, if you will. I mean, legitimately.
True.
And until they're broken, or the cycles are broken. And but anyway, I think Miss Manning was saying something. Thank you.
I think you just hit on it. I was asking him, why do you think that is? Why do you think that chain, that link in that chain is going to eventually get broke, so to speak? Where you said they're going to fall off. Somebody down the line is going to mess up.
Yeah, somebody will.
And that's human nature to mess up. But there are a lot of mess ups. It's a whole bunch of mess ups out there.
Mm-hmm. A lot of different ways.
Huh?
A lot of different ways to mess up.
Yeah. So where does the buck start or stop with those mess ups? Because it does not seem to me to be productive to have so many. It's not productive. It's not seeming in it. It's not productive to have so many of them that fall off like that. And then what happens is many of them don't get linked back into that chain. They stay broken. So where does the buck start or stop to close that gap? That's what it is. It's a gap in there that's causing this separation. When they fall off, it's like a lost sheep.
The only thing I can put to that is when their understanding allows their knowledge to grow.
Well, okay. Well, they're not going to understand on their own. They need some help, don't they?
True, but it's like this. Here's an analogy for you. When you get hit upside the head, at some point, you're going to raise your hand to stop from getting hit upside the head. When do you raise your hand? The first time you get hit? The second time? The third time?
When you get tired of getting hit.
Exactly.
So, okay. So while they're messing up, when they get tired of messing up, then they're going to want to do something about it to keep from messing up again.
Yeah, it's for some, it's when they get in trouble.
Yeah.
For some, it's when they've lost what they had. It's whatever that is for each individual. It's going to be different.
Okay.
Well, okay. I'd like to respond to that, Ms. Manning, as well. To one, not let the host make us look so bad because he sounds so good. He got it, man. I like it. He's a well-oiled machine. So I just want to contribute. I believe a man is a man that wants to be a man. Then he has a role. He has I'm gonna go ahead and put it in sports. Let's say you're coaching, you got first, second, and third string. Well, your third string guy is the little peewee right now. He's he's not productive. He's on the bench. The third string guy should get emphasis during practice. The first string guy gonna get emphasis during the game. You got to get that third string guy ready. So I'm expecting a man, whether he feel like he's first and foremost in the community, second or third in life, second in life, or parallel to average or below average, I have the same expectation when you're on the wagon as when you fall off the wagon. I worked in a homeless shelter. I volunteered there for a year and I worked there 3 years. And I guarantee you, I spoke life to everybody that I talked to. I didn't, some of them I found had master's degrees. I met a homeless guy who had a PhD. So any station that a person is in life, it's not my job to think that it's permanent. So I'm going to speak to you where I want you to be. So what Ms. Nate is talking about falling off, that's just one part of the process. Is okay, all right, well, what's next? I'm not going to speak to you like you laying on the ground. You about to get up. We're going forward. You have a position to play because the starter might get hurt or his head swell up and ain't doing his work and get suspended off the team. Are you ready? Of course, if you're not. So I like what she's saying when she's saying you falling off, but society is not saying you fall off. Yeah, we see men falling off, but I'm gonna close it right here. We see men falling off, but we're just looking at the falling off part. You can't say we're falling off without saying, all right, get up. And that leaves us with a negative comment, a criticism, and no motivation. So why are you saying you guys are sorry rather than you're still on the team? You just gotta go win.
We're talking real life, folks. I am your host, Nada Manning. We're talking Let's Talk Real Life show on Awesome Radio 106.9. We want to focus on some of these issues. What we're talking about here is to address some of these real life issues as dads, because the focus is on the dads, but overall it's for male mentors, uncles, nephews, whoever is in the position as a male model. Very interesting information that we're bringing out tonight, and I hope that you all out there are listening to us. To call in at 252-756-2008 to address your concern, or on Messenger, Facebook Messenger, where I can see your concerns and I will address them accordingly. But yes, we want to continue. I wanted to interrupt because I got so deep into this conversation. We don't have but a few minutes left, and I'm just saying we're live on the air. I'm your host and all of that stuff. So just moving forward, it's been very interesting talking to these guys tonight. So please continue, fellas.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, Coach, because everybody goes through that. A good analogy for me was I played football while I was in the Army. There was one particular game, coach pulled me to the side and said, I'm not going to seat you out today, but come to the game and support your team. I said, okay. We're loading up, getting ready to head to the game. He pulled me to the side. He said, get your gear. I might need you. I said, all right. We get to the field. Go put your gear on. We need you. I go put it on. We're doing our little walkthrough. Give me the starters. I'm standing there on the sideline. He's like, Spate, what you doing? Get in.
What?
You didn't know you had to do all that.
Right. So I went from not playing.
One thing to another. Mm-hmm.
See, that's that part right there that I'm talking about. We don't just look at a man for what he is at the moment, but for what he can be and what he should be. That should be at the top right there. What he can be and what he should be. And then obviously we have to acknowledge what he's not doing.
Right.
And if we're not,
we have a message on the line here. I think making today better than yesterday should also include experiences. When people broaden their experiences, they adapt to better ways of living, thinking, and planning. You can only plan as far as you know is possible. Amen. That's
true.
Dolores McGeldon. That's a very good comment. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's a forward-thinking, progressive comment right there. I like that. And that's what I'm talking about. So
We got
if
5
if you are coaching, you are a judge, you can only be a judge if you know how to lead the whole team. If you just talking about your ability to discipline people and your ability to put starters out there and your ability to win the game, you're not complete complete leader to me. So when I hear people that are critics or judges, they don't have too much a position in my life. I don't care who they are until I know they can train, they can retrain, redirect respectfully, and coach. That means you can get in somebody's face or you can do it in silence. And also train somebody who is handicapped or just not competent in a certain way. You can put them in a position that they belong. So
Okay.
as a leader, I'm saying if you can, I'm gonna close with this. If you can work with somebody that's a natural talent, and then that's one aspect, and then you can retrain that and control that talent and get it to be a team player, because they can be beast, big-headed, swole-headed, I am the champ. But then you can reach and get that third string person that never played ball before, never could shoot a free throw. That's the one that people are calling sorry. The one that I can't. What do they say? Every neighborhood got one of them guys that can't do right.
All right.
If you can get can't do right to click a bell, he can keep cadence in a drum line. Bing, bip, 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 bip.
We have 3 minutes before closing, fellas.
And I just shut up right there.
Mr. Dwayne Spate, we want to thank you for joining us this morning
It was a
on
pleasure.
this show. And it's just been a true blessing, and you just brought some valuable information to us. Your topic was father or dad, who am I? Well, who am I covered a lot of territories. Like we said, you can be a coach, you can be a mentor, you can be an uncle, you can be dad, you can be a father. You're that image. So we want to thank you for coming on the show with us tonight. And we pray that you'll come back with us again. And we have a smiley face from that same comment person. Looks like it's a smiley face. I think they are agreeing with us. But anyway, we want to close out in prayer. And I just want to say it's been a pleasure. I truly enjoyed both of you, Coach Garrison and Dwayne Spate. So now, if one of you want to pray, or I can pray. We got 2 minutes. Amen.
You the host. You can go.
Father God, thank you for this time. Thank you for being who you are in our lives. Thank you for this opportunity. As these gentlemen just shared their thoughts here on Let's Talk Real Life show. We talked about some real issues. We give you the praise and honor for all of it. Thank you for being who you are in our lives, and continue to lead us and guide us and protect us as we, moms and dads, grandparents, aunties, and uncles, move forward as this new generation come up, that we can be fine examples for them. But we can't do it without you, Lord. So we want to follow your lead. Continue to bless us as we move forward and blessing others. In Jesus' name, amen. All right.
Well, I want to say this guy is the smoothest guest. He got a swagger to him, and but he's a tiger. He's a disciplinarian too. He ain't high. He got his family in order, as should be, and I'm sure he's got some proud children around him that has grown up to be productive adults. Thank you, sir.
All right.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, it's been a great pleasure. So we're going to sign off. We have 30 seconds. We have used up the time wisely. So please come back and join us again. We would love to have you back with some more stuff. That's what it's all about. And now that you've been opened up to it, now you know what it's all about. So now you can just come on in swinging. Amen.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, WBISLP 106.9. See you guys.
Hi, I'm Travorce Newton, and I listen to Awesome Radio 106.9.